ask a lot of questions so that you are aware about what is the intention of the interviewer. Hi, welcome to Design Strong. So today in this video we will see how to format out a system design interview. I have seen a lot of candidates who have got good knowledge about designing large scale system and they're still not able to do up to the mark in system design interviews. It's not because they do not know the concepts or they are not aware about how to design large scale systems. More often it is about how do they go about this system design interview. Moreover, it is often about how they are trying to achieve the objective in a system design interview, and even more it is all about how do they lay out the system design interview. So in this video today on special demand we will see how to tackle a system design interview. So let's get started. In case if you have not subscribed to the channel, I'll request you to hit the red subscribe button to ensure that you are updated with the latest videos which will be coming. So typically one should understand that a system design interview is of about 40 minutes to 1 hour. This can get extended, but one should prepare for about 40 minutes to 1 hour itself. First and foremost, the interviewer should explain the problem. Once you are through with the problem, give yourself 2 minutes to decide what is the problem about and how you are going to tackle it, and ask a lot of questions in these 2 minutes so that you are aware about what is the intention of the interviewer, what is the component of that system design or that large scale system that interviewer wants you to focus upon. So for example, in let's say a Facebook design, one interviewer might try to get a lot of focus on design of timelines, whereas the another one might focus a lot on how the friend network will work. So in these 2 minutes one should understand what is the aspect of the system on which you should focus in the design interview. So hack about going around a system design interview is called FED or FED. F stands for feature, E stands for estimation, and D stands for design. So first of all, we should tackle the F. So F means feature. In this, try to discuss out all the functional requirements, all the non-functional requirements of the system, or if there is any prerequisites that one should consider in terms of objectives that we want to consider. For instance, in design of a URL shortener, the interviewer might not be interested to design an analytic system considering the constraint of times that will be there. So we should clear out this within the feature, the F stage. Next is going to be estimation. So estimation is very important, and this is going to decide what is going to be the scale on which system is going to work. This is the stage wherein we will decide whether we'll go with a RDBMS or a NoSQL. What is the sort of database that will help us out in the design better. We will also be able to discuss on whether time series database should work or whether a Redis cache should be used or not. So such questions should come out as part of the estimation. Now estimation in general will start from, let's say, daily active users, monthly active users, and the sort of updates which are happening. Try to identify that whether your system is going to be read heavy or write heavy or both. So for example, in case of Facebook, we should try to identify what are the daily active users, what are the monthly active users, how many status updates will be there, what is the scale of photos being uploaded, how many comments will be made per minute. So things like that becomes very important when we try to scale out on our problem statement. So estimation is something which will become the roadmap of all other design stages which will be there in your system design interview. Next stage is the D, which is the design stage. Design stage is very important. In this, first of all, you should try to understand from the interviewer whether they are interested in looking out at the API level design. For instances, in interviews of URL shortener, one might be trying to get API contracts of a decode and encode as well, or let's say encoding a URL, decoding a URL, getting a short URL, and what are all the parameters which will be there. Similarly, in other interviews, one might only want to focus on how the scaling of the system will work, or let's say how will the high level design in specific of the system will work. Important point to consider here is the CAP theorem. So as per CAP theorem, availability, consistency and latency are three important aspects of a system, and we should try to focus on two. So for instance, if I am designing a URL shortener, So consistency and availability are two things on which one should focus on. Probably latency can take third place, and if I have to choose two out of those three, it is going to be latency, on which I can certainly compromise, but not the availability and consistency, because I do not want my system to go down. So that's availability for you, because in case if the system goes down, all the redirects will fail. So availability becomes very important. Consistency becomes important because let's say if URL A is being asked, we cannot have even 0.0001% of cases wherein we return a different URL or an incorrect URL for it, because that is very important for a URL shortener, as it works more like a key value pair. Whereas latency can be compromised if we ask out of the three. So let's say in case if the redirect earlier was taking 5 microseconds, I'm fine with having, let's say, a latency of up to 10 ms. So we should try to understand the basics of system design, or we should try to understand the question being asked on this CAP theorem basis. So try to get this answer from the interviewer itself, whether they want to focus on consistency, availability, or latency. Two of them is generally fine, and one is something which we ought to compromise on. Next is database. So database is very important part of design. We should focus on whether this should be a database design based on reader writer or master slave architecture. Plus one should also consider the fact that databases are most important aspect of system design. This is where a lot of candidates miss out on important concepts such as single point of failure. So one should focus on database design level aspect as well. And last stage of an interview is when we go through the entire system, explain the user scenarios on which the interviewer wants to focus. So let's say if the interviewer says that there is a user who posts a status update and how it is going to flow in our Facebook system. So our services, our design, our cache, our overall high level design should be able to explain that in a single flow. We should consider concepts like Redis and Kafka for our system to connect better through the microservices. So this in general is the layout on which I generally try to gauge a system design interview. And if you also will try to do it in this way, I think you'll probably succeed. Plus one more aspect to think here is that we should always think out loud in a system design interview, because these are open-ended. So you might get input from the interviewer at any point in time. So in case if you are thinking out loud, interviewer will be engaged with you, which is where a lot of inputs will come in, and which is where the interviewer will also understand the thinking that you are having. Wasn't that easy? So this is my guide for system design interviews, and this as a guide will help you serve the system design interviews in a better way. Hope you like it. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button, and in case if you like the video or you have any question to ask, feel free to utilize the comment section or like the video. Thank you, and say design strong.